The desert stretched endlessly before them, a wasteland of burning sand and twisted metal. February 27th, 1991, the highway of death. Colonel Patrick Brennan pressed his back against the shattered hull of an Iraqi tank, blood seeping through his tactical vest, painting dark crimson patterns across the desert camouflage. His radio crackled. Static, then voices. American voices, screaming for extraction. Patrick keyed his mic with trembling fingers. "This is Reaper 6. I'm hit, bleeding out, but the package is secure." The voice on the other end belonged to Master Gunnery Sergeant Declan Callahan. "Pat, hold on. We're coming for you." Patrick looked down at the photograph clutched in his left hand. A little girl, 3 years old, red-brown hair, green eyes, standing in a garden, holding a toy soldier smiling at the camera like the whole world was safe and beautiful. "Declan," Patrick's voice was weaker now, "promise me something. Anything, brother." "My daughter, Sarah. She's only 3, but I've been teaching her. Every morning before deployment. How to stand, how to move, how to think like a fighter." Blood bubbled at the corner of Patrick's mouth. "Promise me you'll check on her. Make sure she knows. Make sure she knows she can be anything. Do anything. That being small doesn't mean being weak. Pat, save your strength. We're 2 minutes out. Promise me, Declan." The gunfire intensified. Rounds pinged off metal. Somewhere in the smoke and chaos, men were dying. "I promise," Callahan said, his voice breaking. "I swear it, brother. I'll make sure she knows." Patrick Brennan smiled. He looked at the photograph one last time. "Sarah," he whispered, "Daddy loves you. Be strong. Be brave. Make me proud." The radio signal went dead. 2 minutes later, Declan Callahan arrived at the position to find Patrick Brennan still gripping that photograph, still smiling. Gone. The Navy Cross would arrive 6 months later, delivered to a small house in North Carolina, where a little girl named Sarah didn't understand why everyone was crying, why they kept talking about her daddy in past tense, or why the flag they gave her mother was folded into a perfect triangle. But she understood the photograph, the one they found in her father's hand. It was her. 27 years vanished like smoke. September 2018. Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Sarah Catherine Brennan parked her 10-year-old Honda Civic in the employee lot at precisely 05:58, 2 minutes early. Always 2 minutes early. Never late. Never conspicuous. She checked her reflection in the rearview mirror. 30 years old. Red-brown hair pulled back in a regulation bun. Green eyes that had seen her father's face only in photographs and fading memories. 5 feet 3 inches of carefully constructed invisibility. The supply clerk uniform was pressed crisp anonymous. Nothing about her suggested anything beyond what the name tag proclaimed: S. Brennan, Supply. She grabbed her lunch bag from the passenger seat. Thermos of coffee, turkey sandwich, apple. Same lunch every day for 3 years. The morning air was cool, tinged with salt from the nearby Atlantic. Seabirds called overhead. Somewhere across the base, Marines were doing morning PT. She could hear the distant cadence cause that rhythmic chanting that turned individual men into a unified machine. Your left, your left, your left, right, left. Sarah walked toward the supply building, nodding politely at the gate guard who never remembered her name, despite seeing her every single day for 3 years. "Morning," she said. "Morning," he replied, barely glancing up from his phone. Invisible. Perfect. The supply office was exactly as she'd left it the day before. Shelves lined with boxes, filing cabinets full of requisition forms, fluorescent lights that hummed constantly, that particular government building frequency that lived somewhere between annoying and maddening. Her desk was in the corner. Small, metal, utilitarian. A computer from 2009 that took 4 minutes to boot up. A coffee mug that said, "World's okayest employee," that someone had given her as a secret Santa gift. They hadn't meant it as a compliment. She sat down, opened her planner, today's tasks written in precise, careful handwriting. 0600 0800. Process requisition forms. 0800 1000. Inventory. Check. Warehouse. C1000. 1200. Equipment. Inspection. 1200 or 1300. Lunch. 1300 if 1500. Data entry. 1500 to 1700. Filing correspondence. 1700. Depart. Every day the same. A rhythm. A routine. A carefully constructed life of absolute complete mediocrity. Sarah powered on the ancient computer and waited for it to wheeze to life. While she waited, her eyes drifted to the small photograph tucked into the corner of her desk, the only personal item in her workspace. A young man in navy dress blues, handsome, confident, eyes that looked like hers, smile that she'd inherited. Colonel Patrick Brennan, 1961 to 1991. "Morning, Dad," she whispered. The computer finally finished booting. Sarah opened the requisition database and began her day of being completely, utterly forgettable. But forgettable was precisely the point. What nobody at Camp Lejeune knew, what nobody could possibly know, was that Sarah Brennan woke every morning at 04:00, not 0:15, not 04:05, exactly 04:00. Her apartment was 15 minutes from base, small, one bedroom, sparse furniture, walls decorated with exactly nothing that would give any visitor insight into who she actually was, except the garage. The garage was where Sarah Brennan kept her secrets. She'd rented the place specifically because of the garage. Detached, separate from the main house, no windows, soundproofed with foam panels she'd installed herself. Inside a heavy bag hanging from reinforced ceiling beams. A speed bag in the corner, mats covering the concrete floor. A weight bench, dumbbells ranging from 10 to 80 pounds. Resistance bands, a pull-up bar, and VHS tapes, dozens of them, all labeled in her father's handwriting. Sarah, age 2, basic movement. Sarah, age 4, balance training. Sarah, age 6, first strikes. Sarah, age 8, defensive positions. Patrick Brennan had been obsessive, meticulous. He documented everything, every training session with his daughter, every technique he'd taught her, every principle he wanted her to understand. He'd known, somehow he'd known he might not make it back. Sarah fed a tape into the ancient VCR she'd bought at a thrift store. The screen flickered to life. The date stamp in the corner read, August 15th, 1993. Her father appeared on screen, young, 32 years old, standing in their backyard in North Carolina, the one they'd lived in before he deployed for the last time. And there she was, 5 years old, tiny, wearing pink shorts and a white t-shirt with a cartoon dinosaur on it. The video had no sound. The microphone had been broken, but Sarah had watched it so many times she could read her father's lips, could remember exactly what he'd said. "Okay, sweetheart, show me your stance." 5-year-old Sarah planted her feet, left foot forward, knees slightly bent, hands up, chin tucked. Good, perfect. Now what do we remember? The little girl's mouth moved. Sarah whispered along with her younger self, knowing the words by heart. Size doesn't win fights. Smart wins fights. On screen, Patrick Brennan smiled, ruffled his daughter's hair, gave her a high five. Present day, Sarah stopped the tape. She stood in the center of her garage. 04:15 now. Time to train. She began the routine exactly as her father had taught her. Footwork drills first. Always footwork. Hands can't land what feet can't reach. He'd written in his training journal. Sarah glided across the mats. Forward, back, lateral, pivot, circle, every movement precise, every step intentional. Then shadow boxing. 3 rounds, 3 minutes each, 30 seconds, rest between. She moved through combinations: jab, cross, hook, uppercut, slip, duck, counter. Her form was flawless. 27 years of practice. Every single morning. No exceptions, no excuses. When she was sick, she trained. When she was injured, she trained. When her body screamed for rest, she trained. Because her father had given her this gift, this knowledge, and abandoning it would be abandoning him. After shadowboxing came the heavy bag. She wrapped her hands carefully. Old school method, the way Patrick had taught her from his own SEAL training. The bag weighed 150 pounds. She attacked it with controlled fury. Jab, jab, cross. The bag swung. Hook to the body. Low kick. The bag shuddered. 3 minutes. Rest. 3 minutes. Rest. By 05:30, she was drenched in sweat, breathing hard. Alive in a way she never felt during her day job. She showered quickly, made coffee, dressed in her supply clerk uniform. By 05:58, she was parking her Honda Civic, transforming back into the invisible woman nobody noticed. The morning progressed exactly as planned. Requisition forms, inventory checks, data entry. At 10:30, a young Marine, couldn't have been more than 20, approached her desk carrying a tablet. "Excuse me, ma'am. I need to check out tactical gloves, size large, 50 pairs." Sarah looked up. The Marine wouldn't meet her eyes. Nobody ever really looked at her. She was part of the furniture, part of the bureaucratic landscape. "Fill out form 3350, she said. "Digital or paper?" Digital." She turned her monitor toward him. Opened the form. Name, rank, unit intended, use date, needed, commanding officer, signature. Submit when complete. "Thanks." The Marine started typing. His fingers were clumsy on the keyboard. Hunt and peck. Sarah waited patiently. "So, you've been working here long?" the Marine asked, making conversation the way people do when silence feels awkward. 3 years. "Cool. Must be interesting. All the equipment and stuff." "It's very consistent," Sarah said. The Marine finished the form, hit submit. "Thanks, ma'am." "You're welcome." He walked away. Would forget her before he reached the door. Perfect. The announcement came at 14 hours. The base-wide email notification dinged on every computer simultaneously. Sarah opened it with the same mild curiosity she applied to everything during work hours. Subject: Distinguished Instructor. Visit to all personnel. Camp Lejeune from command. The email was brief. Effective immediately. Master Gunnery Sergeant Declan Callahan Reth will be joining Camp Lejeune as a guest instructor for advanced hand-to-hand combat training. Master Guns Callahan brings 44 years of experience, including service with Force Recon, multiple combat deployments, and expertise in close quarters combat techniques. Senior NCOs and interested personnel are encouraged to attend training sessions beginning Monday, September 10th at 1800 hours main gymnasium. Semper Fi. Sarah's hands froze on the keyboard. Declan Callahan. The name detonated in her mind like a flashbang. She knew that name, knew it from her father's letters, from the stories her mother used to tell before she'd remarried and moved to Oregon, and slowly edited Patrick Brennan out of her life like he was a chapter in a book she'd rather forget. Declan Callahan had served with her father, had been there in Desert Storm, had been one of the last people to speak with Patrick Brennan before he died. Sarah's heart hammered in her chest. Her breathing accelerated. She forced herself to slow down. Breathe. Control. This changed nothing. Callahan didn't know her, didn't know what she had become. As far as he was concerned, she was just another supply clerk who happened to share a last name with someone he'd served with 3 decades ago. She could keep her head down, stay invisible, just like always. Monday arrived too quickly. Sarah told herself she wouldn't go, wouldn't attend the training session. No reason to. She wasn't combat personnel. She was supply. Nobody expected her to be there. But at 17:45, she found herself walking toward the main gymnasium anyway. Curiosity. That's what she told herself. Just curiosity. The gym was already filling up. 60, maybe 70 Marines. All men. Most in their 20s and 30s. Some older. Sergeants. Gunnery sergeants. Staff sergeants. They talked and laughed and stretched. The energy was electric, anticipatory. Sarah slipped in through the side door, found a spot in the back, tried to blend into the wall. At exactly 18 Aldaris, a man entered through the main doors, 66 years old. Silver hair cut military short. Ramrod straight posture despite his age. 5'11", maybe 185 pounds. Still solid, still dangerous. He walked with a slight limp. Old injury, but he moved with the confidence of a man who'd spent 44 years learning how to hurt people efficiently. Declan Callahan. The room quieted immediately, not because anyone ordered it, but because Callahan commanded that kind of presence. He stood at the front of the gym, looked across the assembled Marines with eyes that had seen things most of them couldn't imagine. "Good evening," he said. His voice was gravelly, worn, but strong. "For those who don't know me, I'm Master Gunnery Sergeant Declan Callahan. I served from 1974 to 2018. Force Recon. Multiple deployments. Grenada, Panama, Desert Storm, Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan." He paused. "Let that sink in. I'm here to teach you hand-to-hand combat, not sports fighting, not tournament rules. Combat. The kind that keeps you alive when everything goes wrong, when your weapon jams, when you're outnumbered, when the only thing between you and a body bag is what you know and how fast you can move." The Marines listened, raptly. "I'm 66 years old," Callahan continued. "Most of you are thinking I'm past my prime, that modern combat has evolved beyond what an old dog like me can teach. You might be right, so let's find out." He pointed to 3 Marines in the front row, all young, all built, all clearly athletes. "You 3, on the mat, come at me together, full contact, try to take me down." The gym erupted in murmurs. One of the 3 Marines, a corporal maybe 25, hesitated. "Master Guns, we don't want to hurt." "You won't," Callahan said. "Come on." The 3 Marines exchanged glances, shrugged, stepped onto the mat. Callahan stood in the center, relaxed, hands at his sides. The first Marine brushed him. Textbook tackle attempt. Callahan sidestepped, caught the Marine's arm, used his momentum against him, applied a joint lock. The Marine went down hard, tapped immediately. 8 seconds. The second Marine attacked from behind. Smart. Callahan spun, parried a punch, delivered a palm strike to the chest, pulled not full power that stopped the Marine in his tracks. Sweep. Takedown. Knee pressure on the spine. 14 seconds total. The third Marine, seeing his buddies go down, tried to be cautious. Circled. Looked for an opening. Callahan didn't wait. Closed the distance. Feinted high, went low. Double leg takedown. Mount position. Simulated strikes. The Marine tapped. 23 seconds. 3 Marines. Done. The gym was silent. Callahan stood, helped each Marine to his feet. "Hey, you all did well. Solid fundamentals. But you're used to fighting people your own age, your own generation. You expect certain patterns. I fought when techniques were different, when we didn't have YouTube tutorials or UFC fights to study. We learned through pain and repetition and blood." He looked across the room. Age and treachery beat youth and enthusiasm. Every single time. A voice from the crowd, deep, confident. "With respect, Master Guns, that was impressive, but those were 3 average Marines. What about someone with real skill, someone who's trained specifically for hand-to-hand?" The speaker stepped forward. Staff Sergeant Garrett Kessler, 41, 6'3", 235 pounds, chest like a barrel, arms like tree trunks. Callahan smiled. "You volunteering Staff Sergeant?" "Just making a point. Master Guns, times change. Training evolves. I'm not saying you're not skilled. I'm saying modern operators might be better. Better than me? Callahan asked. Probably. I'm 66. My knees hurt, my back hurts. But better than the best fighter I ever saw? No chance. Kessler raised an eyebrow. Who's that? Patrick Brennan, Colonel, Navy SEAL. Served with him in Desert Storm. 5'9", maybe 170 pounds. Could take down men twice his size. Never saw him lose a fight. Not once. In the back of the gym, Sarah's blood turned to ice. Where is he now? Kessler asked. This Brennan died February 1991. Earned a Navy Cross. One of the bravest men I ever knew. Sarah's vision tunneled. The walls seemed to press inward. She couldn't breathe. Kessler nodded respectfully. Sounds like a warrior, but he's gone. And with all respect to his memory, we're talking about fighters today, in this gym, on this base. Callahan's expression shifted. Something calculating entered his eyes. You want to know the best fighter on this base, he said slowly. Right now, today. Yeah, Kessler said. I do. Callahan's eyes swept across the room, across the assembled Marines, and stopped. Stopped on Sarah. Her, he said. Every head turned. Sarah felt 70 pairs of eyes land on her. Kessler followed Callahan's gaze, saw Sarah standing in the back, small, quiet, wearing a supply clerk uniform. He laughed, actually laughed. Master Guns, that's the supply clerk, Brennan. No relation to your buddy, I'm guessing. She's his daughter, Callahan said quietly. The gym went silent. Sarah couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't process what was happening. Callahan walked toward her. The crowd parted. He stopped 3 feet away. Sarah Brennan, he said, Patrick's daughter. I promised your father I'd check on you if I ever could. Took me too long, but I'm here now. Sarah's mouth was dry. Master Guns, I think there's been a mistake. Patrick trained you, Callahan said. Not a question, a statement. I pulled his records from the National Archives, his personal training journals. He documented everything, teaching you from age 2, every technique, every principle. He wrote about you constantly. I don't know what you're talking about, Sarah said, but her voice wavered. Your apartment building has a gym, Callahan continued. You access it every morning at 0400. 10-year record of perfect consistency. You live alone. No relationships, no social media, no hobbies anyone knows about. You're a ghost. That's private. Your father told me, Callahan interrupted. The night before he died, in Kuwait, he said, Declan, if anything happens to me, make sure Sarah knows she can be anything, do anything. That size doesn't define capability. I promised him. I have waited 27 years to keep that promise. Sarah felt tears threatening, pushed them down. What do you want from me? Callahan smiled, gentle, sad. I want you to stop hiding. Kessler stepped forward. Master Guns, with all respect, this is crazy. She's no offense, ma'am, she's 5'3", maybe 120 pounds, supply clerk. I'm sure her father was a good man, but that doesn't make her a fighter. You're right, Callahan said. It doesn't. Training makes her a fighter. 27 years of it. Every single day. Never missing. Never quitting. He looked at Kessler. You said you could beat 10 people. One after another. I believe you. You're strong, skilled, experienced. But Sarah could do the same. Easier than you. The gym erupted in laughter and disbelief. Kessler shook his head. Master Guns, I don't want to disrespect you or her father's memory. But that's impossible. Then prove it, Callahan said. Fight her. You and 9 others. Standard combatives rules. See what happens. Sarah found her voice. Master Guns, please. I don't want this. I am not. You are, Callahan said, turning to her. His eyes were intense, almost desperate. Your father made me promise, swear, that I'd make sure you never hid your gifts. Never let fear or society or expectations make you small. He died believing in you. Don't let that be for nothing. The silence in the gym was absolute. Kessler looked at Sarah, really looked at her for the first time. Saw a woman in her 30s, small, quiet, completely unremarkable. Ma'am, he said not unkindly, you don't have to do this. Nobody here thinks. I'll do it, Sarah said. The words surprised her as much as anyone else. Kessler blinked. What? I'll fight you and 9 others. 1 minute each, you pick the rules. Sarah's voice was steady now, clear. But when I win, every Marine in this room trains under me for 6 months. You learn what my father taught me. Deal. The gym exploded into noise, shouts, arguments, disbelief. Kessler stared at her, searching for a joke, finding none. And if you lose, he asked, then I admit, hey, Callahan was wrong, and I transfer off this base, out of combat adjacent roles entirely. Kessler extended his hand. Deal. Sarah shook it. His hand engulfed hers. Rough calluses, crushing grip. She didn't flinch. The news spread across Camp Lejeune like wildfire. By 19 the entire base knew. Supply clerk versus 10 Marines. Tomorrow night, main gymnasium. Sarah drove home in a daze, parked in her driveway, sat in her car for 10 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel. What had she done? 27 years of hiding, of being invisible, gone, destroyed. In one moment of, what pride, stupidity, loyalty to a father she barely remembered. She walked into her house, dropped her keys on the counter, stood in her living room staring at nothing. Her phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. This is Declan Callahan. I'm sorry I put you in this position, but your father would be proud. No matter what happens tomorrow, you've already honored him by saying yes. Sarah didn't respond. She walked to her garage, opened the door, stood in the familiar space where she'd spent 10,000 hours, becoming something nobody knew she was. She fed a tape into the VCR, the last one Patrick had made. The date stamp read January 1991, 1 month before he deployed for the last time. Her father appeared on screen. He looked tired, older than his 30 years. Like he knew something bad was coming. He was alone, talking directly to the camera. This one had sound. Sarah, Patrick said. His voice filled the garage. If you're watching this, it means I didn't come home, and I'm sorry. Sorrier than you'll ever know, but I need you to understand something. He leaned closer to the camera. His green eyes, her eyes were intense. I didn't train you to make you hard, or to turn you into something you're not. I trained you because the world is dangerous, because being small makes you a target, and because I wanted you to know, to really know deep in your bones, that you're capable of anything. Anything. Size is just a number. Gender is just a word. What matters is will, discipline, heart. Patrick paused, smiled. That smile that Sarah had inherited. Someday someone's going to challenge you, underestimate you, think you're weak because of how you look, and you're going to have a choice. You can let them believe it, stay safe, stay hidden. Or you can show them the truth, show them what I always knew, that you're a warrior, my daughter, my legacy. He reached toward the camera, touched the lens like he was touching her face. Be brave, sweetheart, and be strong. Make me proud. The tape ended. Sarah stood in the garage, alone, 30 years old, 5'3", 122 pounds. Tomorrow she would fight 10 Marines. Tomorrow she would reveal everything she'd hidden for 27 years. Tomorrow she would honor her father or fail him completely. She looked at her hands, small hands, calloused hands, hands that had thrown 10,000 punches at a heavy bag in secret. Okay, Dad, she whispered to the empty garage. Let's see if I'm really your daughter. The base gymnasium had never held this many people. 300 Marines packed the space, a standing room only. They lined the walls, filled the bleachers, crowded around the regulation combat mat that had been placed in the center of the floor. The air was electric, thick with anticipation and skepticism, and that particular brand of curiosity that comes when everyone knows they're about to witness something unprecedented. Sarah arrived at 17:45, 15 minutes early. She wore black athletic shorts and a grey tank top. Her red-brown hair was pulled back in a tight French braid. No jewelry, no makeup, nothing unnecessary. She carried a small gym bag. In it, hand wraps, water bottle, mouth guard, and a photograph of her father that she tucked into the side pocket for luck. The crowd parted as she walked through, not out of respect, out of morbid fascination. Like watching someone walk toward a car crash they'd volunteered for. She heard the whispers. That's her Kelly, she's tiny. This is gonna be a massacre. Poor girl doesn't know what she's gotten herself into. Sarah kept her eyes forward, focused on the mat, on the task ahead, breathing steady, heart rate controlled. 27 years of preparation had led to this moment. Declan Callahan stood at the edge of the mat. When he saw Sarah, something shifted in his expression. Relief mixed with concern, pride mixed with guilt. You came, he said quietly. I said I would. You can still back out. No one would think less. Yes, they would, Sarah interrupted. And more importantly, I would. She set down her bag, began wrapping her hands with the methodical precision her father had taught her from his old SEAL training manuals. This is happening. Callahan nodded slowly, watched her wrap her hands. Perfect technique. Over the knuckles, around the wrist, support without restriction. She'd done this thousands of times. Your father wrapped his hands exactly the same way, Callahan said softly. Sarah didn't respond. Finished the left hand, started the right. At 18, Hodado precisely the 10 Marines stepped onto the mat. Staff Sergeant Garrett Kessler led them. 6'3", 235 pounds, confidence radiating off him like heat. Behind him came 9 others. Various sizes, various skill sets, but all of them substantially larger than Sarah. The smallest was Lance Corporal Wyatt Sullivan, 23 years old, 5'9", 185 pounds. Even he had 63 pounds on her. Gunnery Sergeant Thaddeus Beaumont stepped forward as the official referee. 44 years old, Marine Raider instructor. A man who'd seen enough real combat to know the difference between sport and survival. Listen up. Beaumont's voice cut through the crowd noise like a blade. The gym fell silent. Rules are simple. Standard Marine combatives. Tap out submission or knockout ends the round. Each round is 60 seconds. 30-second rest between rounds. No strikes to throat, eyes or groin. This is training, not a death match. Both parties understand. Kessler nodded. Sarah nodded. Good. Kessler, you're first. Take your position. The crowd pressed closer, every eye locked on the mat. Kessler stepped forward, rolled his massive shoulders, bounced on the balls of his feet. He looked like what he was, a former college linebacker who'd spent 20 years maintaining that athlete's edge. Sarah stepped to the center of the mat, stood 5'3" of absolute stillness. The size difference was almost comical. Kessler could have picked her up with one hand. Ma'am, Kessler said, his voice carrying across the silent gym. Last chance to walk away. No shame in it. Sarah looked up at him. Her green eyes were calm, eerily calm. Begin when ready, Beaumont said. For 3 seconds, neither fighter moved. Then, Kessler exploded forward. His strategy was obvious. Use size and strength. Get her on the ground. Use weight advantage. End it quickly and mercifully. He shot for a double leg takedown. Textbook wrestling. Fast, powerful. Sarah's response was faster. She sprawled. Perfect timing. Her hips shot back. Her hands landed on Kessler's shoulders. Her weight pressed down. Her legs spread wide, creating a base he couldn't penetrate. Kessler grunted, tried to drive through with pure muscle. Sarah didn't fight force with force. She redirected, stepped to the side, let his momentum carry him forward, applied a front headlock. Her forearm pressed against his carotid artery. Not a choke yet, just control. 10 seconds elapsed. Kessler tried to power out, lifted his upper body. Sarah moved with him, fluid, like water. She threw a controlled knee to his ribs, not full power, just enough to make a point. Kessler felt the impact, felt the technique, realized with sudden shocking clarity that she knew what she was doing. He changed tactics, grabbed her waist, tried to lift her bodily. Sarah released the headlock. As he lifted, she moved, climbed his body like a ladder, legs wrapped around his waist, arms snaked around his neck, locked her hands, body triangle from standing, 25 seconds. Kessler spun, tried to shake her off. She clung like a barnacle, adjusted her grip, sunk in a rear naked choke. Not the full pressure yet, giving him a chance to defend. He reached back, tried to grab her head. She tucked her chin, made herself small, impossible to grip. 35 seconds. The crowd was dead silent, watching, disbelieving. Kessler's face was turning red, not from the choke, from exertion. He was fighting hard, using everything he had. It wasn't enough. Sarah increased the pressure, squeezed. Her forearm compressed his carotid arteries. Blood flow to his brain restricted. 42 seconds. Kessler's vision started to tunnel. He had maybe 3 seconds before unconsciousness. His hand shot up, tap, tap, tap. Sarah released immediately, dropped to her feet, stepped back. Kessler bent forward, hands on knees, breathing hard, not hurt, just shocked. The gymnasium erupted. Not cheers, not jeers, just noise. Pure unfiltered astonishment. Beaumont stepped forward. Winner round 1, Brennan. 42 seconds. Kessler, you're done. Next fighter up. Kessler straightened, looked at Sarah, really looked at her, seeing her for the first time. He extended his hand. Sarah shook it. How? He asked simply. Leverage, Sarah said. Like my father taught me. Kessler nodded slowly, stepped off the mat. His eyes never left her. Corporal Brock Matheson stepped forward, 28 years old, 5'11", 198 pounds, boxer, fast hands, 8-inch reach advantage over Sarah. 30 seconds rest, Beaumont announced. Sarah walked to the edge of the mat, took a sip of water. Her breathing was elevated but controlled. Her expression was neutral, unreadable. Callahan approached. That was perfect. Exactly what Patrick would have done. Sarah didn't respond. Her eyes were already on Matheson, analyzing, processing. Time, Beaumont called. Fighters ready. Matheson came out in an orthodox boxing stance. Left foot forward, hands up high. He bounced lightly, confident in his striking. Sarah adjusted her stance, bladed, weight on her back foot, hands up but lower than traditional boxing. Krav Maga influence. Begin. Matheson didn't rush, stayed at range, threw a probing jab, testing distance. Sarah slipped it, minimal movement, just enough to make it miss by inches. Matheson threw another, jab-cross combination. Sarah slipped the jab, ducked under the cross. The punch whistled over her head. 10 seconds. Matheson frowned, adjusted, threw a jab to the body. Sarah dropped her elbow, blocked it, felt the impact. His punches were heavy. If he landed clean, this would end badly. She couldn't trade strikes with him, couldn't play his game. She had to change the game. Matheson threw a combination, jab, jab, cross, hook. Sarah didn't retreat. She moved forward, into him, inside his range where his long arms became a disadvantage. She trapped his lead arm, stepped to the outside of his stance, swept his front leg. Matheson went down, surprised, but trained. He tried to scramble up. Sarah was already there, mounted him. Not full pressure, just position. 28 seconds. She set up an arm triangle choke, threaded her arm under his chin, locked it with her opposite arm, squeezed. Matheson defended, tucked his chin, and tried to create space. Sarah adjusted, shifted her hips, increased pressure. 38 seconds. Matheson tapped, The crowd's noise level doubled. This wasn't luck. This wasn't a fluke. She'd just beaten two trained Marines in less than 90 seconds combined. Matheson stood, shook his head in disbelief. "Who trained you?" he asked. "My father, Colonel Patrick Brennan, Navy SEAL. He taught you well." "He taught me everything." Beaumont's voice cut through. "Next fighter, Hudson Grant, Corporal, step up. 31 years old, 5'10", 215 pounds, judo black belt. This would be different. This fighter knew grappling, knew ground fighting." Sarah took her 30-second rest, drank water. Her heart rate was climbing but still manageable. 2 down, 8 to go. Grant bowed before stepping onto the mat. Respectful, traditional. Sarah returned the bow. They both knew this would be technical. A chess match, not a brawl. "Begin." Grant didn't rush. Approached carefully, hands out, looking for grips. In judo, grips were everything. Control the collar and sleeve, control the fight. Sarah didn't give him orthodox grips. She kept her hands moving, slapping away his attempts, circling. 20 seconds of grip fighting, neither gaining advantage. Then Grant committed, shot in for a hip throw. Ogoshi, classic judo. His hip loaded under her center of gravity. His arms wrapped tight, but Sarah felt it coming. Read the weight shift. The setup. As he lifted, she posted. Her hand shot to the mat, her leg wrapped around his waist. She used his lifting momentum to climb. Ended up on his back, both hooks in. Body control, 35 seconds. Grant's eyes widened. He'd been reversed mid-throw. That shouldn't be possible against someone 73 pounds lighter. He tried to shake her off. Powerful back muscles flexing. Sarah flattened him, spread her weight, threaded her arm under his chin. Rear naked choke again. Grant defended better than the others. Tucked his chin hard, controlled her wrist. He knew this position, had been here hundreds of times in training. 45 seconds. Sarah couldn't get the choke. Grant's defense was too good. She had 15 seconds to finish or the round would end in a draw. She adjusted, switched to a different attack, released the choke attempt. He grabbed his right arm, extended it, hyperextended it. Armbar threat. Grant had to defend, had to react. He did. The moment he moved his hands to protect his arm, Sarah switched back. Rear naked choke. His chin was up now. Defenses compromised. She locked it in. Squeezed. 54 seconds. Grant tapped. No choice. The choke was deep. Perfect. Sarah released. Rolled off. Stood. Grant remained on his hands and knees for a moment, processing what just happened. "That switch," he said, looking up at her. "That was brilliant. You baited me. My father used to say, attack their strength until they expose their weakness." Grant stood, bowed again, deeper this time. "Your father was a wise man." 3 down, 7 to go. The crowd was no longer skeptical. They were invested, witnessing something they'd never seen before. A 5'3" woman dismantling trained Marines like they were beginners. Lance Corporal Wyatt Sullivan stepped forward, the youngest of the 10, 23, fresh-faced, nervous. During the 30-second rest, Callahan approached Sarah again. "How are you feeling?" "Fine," Sarah said, but her breathing was harder now. 3 minutes of high-intensity combat. Her body was beginning to feel it. "You're doing exactly what Patrick would do. Technique over strength. Intelligence over aggression." 4 minutes to go, Sarah said. 7 opponents. "I need to conserve energy." "End them faster," Callahan suggested. "Time," Beaumont announced. Sullivan stepped onto the mat. He looked at Sarah with something like awe and guilt. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "my grandfather served with your father, Staff Sergeant Randall Sullivan. Your dad saved his life during Desert Storm, pulled him from a burning vehicle under fire." Sarah's expression softened, slightly. "What's your grandfather doing now?" "Retired." lives in Virginia, still talks about Colonel Brennan, says he was the bravest man he ever met. Tell him I said thank you for his service. Sullivan nodded. Ma'am, I don't want to fight you. Not because I think you're weak, because I owe your father everything. My grandfather lived because of him, which means I exist because of him. Then honor his memory, Sarah said. Give me your best. He'd want that. Sullivan took a breath, nodded. Yes, ma'am. Begin. Sullivan was fast, young legs, quick reflexes. He came out throwing combinations. Not wild, controlled, but aggressive. A jab snapped towards Sarah's face. She slipped it, barely. A cross followed. She ducked. A hook. She raised her arm, blocked it. The impact rang through her forearm. He hit hard. 15 seconds. Sullivan was pressing, not letting her dictate range. His youth was an advantage. Fresh, energetic. Sarah had to end this quickly. She was on fight 4. Energy management was critical. Sullivan threw a body shot, hard straight right to the ribs. Sarah twisted, caught it on her elbow. The impact hurt him more than her. He winced, pulled his hand back. That was the opening. Sarah exploded forward, close distance, clinched, threw a knee, not to hurt, to off balance. Sullivan staggered. Sarah transitioned, grabbed his wrist, stepped through, arm drag, took his back, standing. 30 seconds. She jumped, wrapped her legs around his waist, locked her ankles. Body triangle from the back. Sullivan spun, tried to slam her against the mat, hoping the impact would break her grip. Sarah saw it coming, released at the last second, landed on her feet. As Sullivan turned, she swept his leg. He went down. She mounted, set up an arm bar, extended his elbow joint. 45 seconds. Sullivan fought it. Strong kid. Good defense. Sarah increased pressure. More. Sullivan's face contorted. The pain was reaching the threshold. Another 2 seconds and something would tear. He tapped. 52 seconds. Sarah released immediately, helped him to his feet. Sullivan's eyes were wet, not from pain, from emotion. Your father would be proud, he said. So proud. Sarah's throat tightened. She nodded. Couldn't speak. 4 down, 6 to go. The crowd was roaring now. The noise was deafening. This wasn't just a fight anymore. It was a statement, a declaration. A woman proving something the Marine Corps had debated for decades. Capability wasn't about gender or size. It was about skill, training, heart. Sergeant Lennox Drake stepped forward. 39 years old, 6'1", 220 pounds, 5 professional MMA fights, 2 wins, 3 losses, but real cage experience. This was the most dangerous opponent yet. Sarah's rest period felt too short. Her muscles were burning. Lactic acid building up. 4 fights in 6 minutes. Her body was screaming, but her mind was clear. Time. Drake came out cautious. He'd watched the first 4 fights, seen how she operated. He wasn't making the same mistakes. He just stayed at range, light on his feet, hands up high, checking leg kicks, defending takedowns. Begin. Drake threw a leg kick, testing. It connected with Sarah's lead leg, not full power, measuring. Sarah felt the impact, felt the skill. This wasn't an amateur. She checked the next kick, shin to shin. The collision echoed across the gym. Drake smiled. You can check. Good. Let's see what else you can do. Hoda, he threw a combination. Jab leg, kick, cross, flowing, technical. Sarah defended, parried the jab, checked the kick, slipped the cross. 20 seconds. They were both fighters, real fighters. This was a chess match, each testing, probing, looking for openings that didn't exist yet. Drake shot for a takedown. Single leg, fast, technical. Sarah sprawled, but Drake was strong, experienced. He drove through, completed the takedown, got her to the ground, bad position. He moved to side control, tried to establish dominant position. Sarah didn't panic, shrimped, created space, guard pull, got her legs between them. 35 seconds. Drake passed her guard, moved to half guard. Better position for him, worse for her. 40 seconds. Sarah was in trouble. Real trouble. If he secured mount, his weight advantage would be overwhelming. She bridged, explosive, lifted her hips, disrupted his base. Drake posted. Had to avoid being swept. That posting created space. Sarah escaped her hips, scrambled, got back to her feet. 50 seconds. 10 seconds left. Drake stood. They reset, both breathing hard. He threw a spinning back fist. Fast, flashy, dangerous. Sarah saw it, ducked. The strike whistled over her head. 5 seconds. She shot forward. Desperation. Tackled his legs. Both went down. Time expired. Time, Beaumont called. Draw. No winner. Drake, you're done. They separated. Stood. Drake extended his fist. Sarah bumped it. You're legit, he said. That escape from half guard. That was slick. You almost had me. Almost doesn't count in combat. Sarah walked to her corner. Her legs were shaking. Her lungs burned. She'd completed 5 fights, 300 seconds of combat. Her body was approaching its limit. Callahan was there, handed her water. That was close, he said. Too close. Sarah drank, tried to slow her breathing. 5 more. I can do 5 more. You can do anything, Callahan said. But you need to finish faster. You're getting tired. They're getting fresh. I know. Corporal Fletcher Stone Otaipapen upward. 27, 6 feet, 192 pounds. Wrestler, state champion in high school. Continued training in the Corps. 30 seconds rest evaporated too quickly. Time. Stone came in fast. Aggressive. Wrestlers were always aggressive. It was in their DNA. He shot for a double leg. Both legs. Powerful drive. Sarah sprawled, but she was tired. Her reaction was a half second slower. Stone completed the takedown, got her down, moved to side control immediately. 10 seconds. Sarah bridged, tried to create space. Stone was heavy, solid, wouldn't budge. He moved to mount, full mount, worst position possible. His weight pressed down on her chest. 192 pounds, all of it crushing down. 20 seconds. Sarah couldn't breathe, couldn't move. For the first time all night, she felt panic touch the edges of her mind. The crowd sensed it. The noise level dropped. Was this it? Would she finally lose? Stone postured up, prepared to throw strikes. Not to hurt her, just to force the submission. Sarah's vision started to tunnel. Lack of oxygen. Too much weight on her chest. Then she heard it, not with her ears, in her memory. Her father's voice, from a VHS tape from 20 years ago. Sarah, when you're mounted, when you're trapped, when you think it's over, that's when you dig deeper than you knew you could. Because quitting is a choice. And you're not a quitter. Sarah stopped trying to push Stone off. Changed tactics entirely. She trapped his right arm, threaded her leg over his head, used his own posting weight against him, executed a perfect armbar from bottom mount. 35 seconds. Stone felt the reversal, felt his arm and tail hyperextending, tried to stack her, roll out. Sarah held on, squeezed her knees, lifted her hips, applied devastating pressure to his elbow joint. 43 seconds. Stone tapped, fast, multiple times. Sarah released, rolled away, lay on her back for a moment, chest heaving. She'd almost lost, almost failed, but almost didn't count. 6 down, 4 to go. The crowd was chanting now. Brennan, Brennan, Brennan. The noise washed over her, distant, dreamlike. She sat up, stood. Her legs were rubber. Her arms felt like lead. 4 more, just 4 more. Sergeant Ward Preston stepped forward. 36, 601, 210 pounds. Brawler, street fighter background, no finesse, just aggression. Sarah's 30-second rest felt like 3 seconds. Time. Preston rushed her. No technique, just violence. Wild hooks, haymakers, attacks designed to overwhelm through ferocity. Sarah circled, dodged. One punch clipped her temple. Her head snapped sideways. Stars exploded in her vision. The crowd gasped. Sarah staggered, recovered, barely. Preston saw blood in the water, pressed forward, threw another wild right hand. Sarah ducked under it, clinched, tripped him. Both went down. She ended up in his guard. Not ideal, but better than being on the bottom. 25 seconds. Preston was strong, threw elbows from the bottom. Sarah defended, controlled his posture. She passed his guard, moved to side control, isolated his arm. Key lock submission. Preston fought it, powered through with pure strength. Sarah adjusted, switched to a different attack, moved to north-south position, applied a head and arm choke. 48 seconds. Preston's face turned red, then purple. He tapped. Sarah released, rolled off, stayed on her hands and knees. Couldn't stand immediately. 7 down. 3 to go. Blood dripped from a lip, split from Preston's punch. Her right eyebrow had a cut, probably from someone's elbow earlier. She hadn't even noticed. Callahan was there, wiping blood with a towel. 3 more, he said. Just 3. You can do this. Sarah nodded, couldn't speak, breathing too hard. Corporal Paxton Reed stepped forward. 29, 5'11", 200 pounds, taekwondo, high kicks, flashy. The 30 seconds evaporated. Time. Reed came out bouncing. Taekwondo stance, weight on his back leg, hands low. He threw a high kick. Round kick aimed at Sarah's head. She ducked. The kick whistled over her. He threw another, spinning back kick, fast, powerful. Sarah couldn't dodge, caught it on her arms. The impact drove her backward. She felt the bone-jarring force. 15 seconds. Reed was keeping range, using his legs, his reach. Smart strategy against a grappler. Sarah had to close distance, had to get inside. She feinted, drew another kick. When he kicked, she moved forward, caught his leg, held it. Reed hopped on one leg, off balance. Sarah swept the standing leg. He went down. She pounced, took his back, locked in a rear naked choke. 39 seconds. Reed tapped. 8 down, 2 to go. Sarah was running on fumes. 8 fights. 12 minutes of combat. Her body was shutting down, muscles failing, coordination deteriorating, but 2 more. Just 2 more. Lance Corporal Briggs Montgomery stepped forward. 24, 6 feet, 188 pounds. Aggressive striker, no respect in his eyes. He thought she'd gotten lucky, thought he'd be the one to end it. Sarah barely made it to her feet for the 30-second rest. Callahan grabbed her shoulders, looked in her eyes. 2 more, Sarah. 2. Then it's done. Then you've proven everything. Honor your father. Finish this. She nodded. Time. Montgomery came out throwing. Hard. Fast. No feeling out process. A jab snapped Sarah's head back. A cross crashed into her ribs. She felt something crack. Not break, but crack. Pain exploded through her torso. A hook caught her on the jaw. Her mouth guard was the only thing that saved her teeth. Sarah went down. First time all night. Hit the mat hard. The impact drove the air from her lungs. Beaumont stepped forward. Do you want to continue? The crowd held its breath. Sarah looked up, saw Montgomery standing over her, saw the 9 fighters she'd already beaten watching from the sidelines, saw Callahan's face, saw 300 Marines waiting to see if she'd quit. She thought about her father, dying in the desert, still fighting, still refusing to quit. Yes, Sarah said, blood on her teeth. I continue. She stood, wobbly, vision swimming, but standing. Beaumont looked at her closely. You're hurt. I'm fine. She wasn't, but it didn't matter. Restart. 28 seconds remaining. Montgomery came at her again. Sensing victory, he threw a power right hand, trying to finish it. Sarah's body moved on instinct. 27 years of training overriding pain and exhaustion. She ducked under the punch, shot forward, double leg takedown, used every ounce of strength she had left. Montgomery went down, surprised. Sarah scrambled, ended up on top. Full mount. 15 seconds left. She set up an arm triangle choke. Her arm shook with exhaustion, but she locked it in. Montgomery defended. Strong kid. He fought. 10 seconds. Sarah closed her eyes, squeezed. Every muscle in her body engaged, everything she had left. 5 seconds. Montgomery's face purpled. His hand shot up. Tap, tap, tap. Sarah released. Collapsed off him. Lay on the mat. Couldn't move. 9 down. 1 to go. The crowd was screaming. The noise was apocalyptic, but Sarah barely heard it. Everything was distant, muted. Her body was trying to shut down. Beaumont knelt beside her. Sarah, can you continue? She opened her eyes. The ceiling was blurry. One more. One more. Then yes, he helped her sit up. The world spun. Gunnery Sergeant Thaddeus Beaumont stood, looked at the assembled Marines. The final fighter, he said, was going to be Corporal Jackson, but he's withdrawn. Says he won't fight someone who's already proven her point 9 times over. The crowd murmured. Mixed reactions. Beaumont continued, which means I'm stepping in if Sarah agrees. Sarah looked up at him. Beaumont, 44 years old, Marine Raider instructor, combat veteran, the best hand-to-hand fighter on base. Why? Sarah asked. Because you deserve to finish against someone who respects what you've accomplished, not someone who thinks this is a game. Sarah pulled herself to her feet, stood swaying. Her body screamed for her to quit, to stop, to just let it end. But one more, just one more. Let's do it, she said. The 30-second rest began. Callahan approached with water and a towel. Sarah, you don't have to prove anything else. You've won. Everyone here knows it. One more. Her voice was hoarse, damaged. I said 10. I meant 10. Your father would tell you to stop. No. Sarah looked at him. Her green eyes were fierce despite the exhaustion. He'd tell me to finish, to never quit, to always complete the mission. Callahan nodded, stepped back. Time. Beaumont called. He and Sarah stepped to the center of the mat. They bowed to each other, deep, respectful. Begin. Beaumont didn't rush. He was patient, experienced. He knew Sarah was exhausted, knew she was hurt, knew he could win by simply defending and letting the clock run. But that wasn't the point. He attacked, technical, controlled, testing her defense. She defended, but slowly. Her reactions were delayed. Her body wasn't responding correctly anymore. 20 seconds. Beaumont threw a combination, struck clean, to the body. Not full power, but enough. Sarah absorbed it, tried to counter, couldn't. Too slow. He got inside, clinched, went for a takedown. She sprawled, but weakly. He completed it, got her down. 30 seconds. Halfway. Beaumont moved to side control. He was gentle, careful, not trying to hurt her, just establishing position. Sarah tried to escape. Her hips wouldn't move properly. Her arms shook. She had nothing left. Beaumont moved to mount, established top position. 40 seconds. Sarah was pinned, trapped, about to lose. She closed her eyes, felt tears threatening, not from pain, from the thought of failing, of coming this close and falling short. Then, in her mind, clear as day, her father's voice from that last video. Be brave, sweetheart. Be strong. Make me proud. Sarah's eyes opened. She stopped trying to push Beaumont off. Instead, she pulled him close, trapped his right arm, executed the same escape she'd used against Stone. Armbar from bottom mount. Beaumont felt it, felt the technique, the determination. He could have resisted, could have powered out, But something in the way Sarah moved, the pure refusal to quit, despite everything, made him respect the attempt. He tapped. 59 seconds. 1 second before time expired. The gymnasium exploded. The noise was physical, overwhelming. 300 Marines on their feet, screaming, cheering, stomping. Sarah released the armbar, lay flat on her back, stared at the ceiling, chest heaving, blood on her face, cut on her eyebrow, split lip, bruised ribs, exhausted beyond anything she'd ever experienced, but victorious. 10 fights, 10 wins. Beaumont stood, extended his hand. Sarah took it. He pulled her to her feet. The 9 other fighters stepped onto the mat, surrounded her. Not threateningly, reverently. Kessler spoke first. I was wrong. Completely, totally wrong. You're not just skilled. You're elite, world class, and it would be an honor to train under you. The others nodded, murmured agreement. Sarah opened her mouth to respond. The world tilted. Her knees buckled. Callahan caught her before she hit the ground. Medic, someone shouted. Everything went dark. Sarah woke up 20 minutes later in the medical station. IV in her arm, ice pack on her ribs, bandage on her eyebrow. Callahan sat beside her bed. When he saw her eyes open, relief washed over his face. Welcome back, he said. Did I finish all 10? You did. Won all 10s. You magnificent, stubborn, incredible warrior. Sarah felt tears slide down her cheeks. I did it, Dad. I did it. Callahan gripped her hand. His eyes were wet. Patrick would be so proud, prouder than you can imagine. The door opened. A man entered. Civilian clothes, late 60s, silver hair, ramrod military posture despite his age. Miss Brennan, the man said, I'm General Benjamin Thornton, retired. I commanded your father in Desert Storm. Sarah tried to sit up, winced. Sir, stay down. You've earned rest. Thornton pulled up a chair, sat. I was there when your father died. I held his hand at the end. He made me promise something. He said if his daughter ever wanted to serve, I should make sure she got every opportunity. That I shouldn't let anyone tell her she couldn't do something because of her size or gender. Thornton leaned forward. His eyes were intense, sharp, evaluating. I've been developing a classified program, Project Valkyrie, Elite Special Operations, multi-generational, mixed gender. We combine old school tradecraft with new era warfare. We do missions other units can't or won't. Sarah's heart began to race. Sir, what are you saying? I'm offering you a position. Operator, full clearance. You deploy worldwide. High risk, high value. This isn't training. This is real combat, real missions. Sarah stared at him, processing. This wasn't possible. She was supply. She'd always been supply. Sir, I'm not qualified. You just beat 10 Marines, combat experienced Marines, in 15 minutes while injured. You're more qualified than half my current roster. I need time to think. You have 24 hours, Thornton said. He stood, placed a business card on the table beside her bed. Call that number when you decide. But Sarah, your father died serving something bigger than himself. You have a chance to continue his legacy. Don't waste it. He left. Sarah stared at the card. Project Valkyrie. A phone number. Nothing else. Callahan was smiling. Your father would tell you to say yes. My father's dead, Sarah said quietly. I have to make my own choices. You do, but you should know something. Patrick told me the night before he died that he didn't want you to live his life. He wanted you to live yours. But he also wanted you to know you could do anything. Anything. The question isn't, am I living Dad's life? The question is, do I want to do this? What's your answer? Sarah looked at the card, at Callahan, at the bandages on her arms, at the proof of what she'd accomplished. I want to, she said finally. I want to serve. I want to fight. I want to honor him by being excellent at something that matters. Callahan's smile widened, then called the number. Sarah picked up the card, Her hand was steady. Her decision was made. 27 years of hiding were over. Sarah Brennan was done being invisible. The classified facility had no name, no sign, no indication it existed at all. 2 weeks after the 10 fights that changed her life, Sarah drove through the Virginia mountains on a road that didn't appear on any map. The coordinates General Thornton had provided led her deeper into wilderness with each mile. Pine forests pressed close on both sides. The October air was crisp, touched with the promise of winter. She'd spent those 2 weeks recovering. The cracked rib had required rest. The cuts had healed into thin pink lines that would fade to scars. The bruises had turned from purple to yellow to nothing. But the real healing had happened internally. 27 years of hiding had created armor around her soul. Armor that was finally cracking, falling away, revealing something she'd forgotten existed. Hope. The road ended at a gate. Chain link, 12 feet high, topped with razor wire. 2 guards in civilian clothes carrying very military M4 carbines. Sarah stopped, rolled down her window, showed her ID and the authorization code Thornton had given her. The guard scanned her credentials with a handheld device, waited. The device beeped green. "Welcome to the program, Miss Brennan. Follow the road 2 miles. Park in the lot. Someone will meet you." The gate opened. Sarah drove through. Her heart hammered in her chest. This was real. This was happening. The facility appeared after 2 miles exactly as promised. Low buildings, concrete and steel. Functional, no aesthetics, just purpose. A dozen vehicles sat in the parking lot, trucks mostly, F-150s, Silverados, 1 Jeep Wrangler, working vehicles for working people. Sarah parked her Honda Civic. It looked out of place among the larger trucks. Story of her life. She grabbed her duffel bag from the trunk. Everything she'd need for the 6-week initial training cycle. Clothes, toiletries, the photograph of her father, his dog tags that Kessler had given her after the fights, his training journals that she'd inherited. A man emerged from the main building, 54 years old, 5'10", lean, scarred, gray in his close-cropped hair. He moved like a predator, efficient, economical, every motion serving a purpose. Colonel Maxwell Hendricks, Project Valkyrie commander, Gulf War veteran, 28 years of service, Silver Star, 2 Bronze Stars, the kind of officer men followed into hell because they knew he'd bring them back. "Sarah Brennan," he said, not a question, a statement. "Sir." She stood at a position approximating attention, not quite civilian, not quite military, at ease. "We're not big on formality here. Respect, yes. Rigid protocol, no." Hendricks extended his hand. Sarah shook it. Firm grip, calluses. This was a man who still trained, still fought. "General Thornton sent me the video of your fights. Impressive, but that was a sport. This is different." "Oh, I understand, sir." "Do you?" Hendricks studied her. Not unkindly, just thoroughly. Combat isn't 1-minute rounds with referees and rules. It's chaos. It's terror. It's making decisions when your brain is screaming to run and your body wants to shut down. The mat doesn't shoot back. The mat doesn't try to kill your teammates. Are you ready for that? Sarah met his eyes. "I don't know, sir, but I'm ready to find out." Hendricks smiled. Slight, approving. "Honest answer. Good. Come on. I'll introduce you to the team." He led her into the main building. The interior was Spartan. Concrete floors, exposed pipes, fluorescent lighting, walls covered with maps, weapon racks secured behind chain link cages. The smell of gun oil and sweat and coffee. They walked down a hallway, through a door, into a briefing room. 11 people sat around a conference table. They looked up when Sarah entered. This was Project Valkyrie. Hendricks pointed to each person in turn. "Sarah Brennan, meet your team. First, you know Master Gunnery Sergeant Declan Callahan. He's our senior advisor. Tactics, training, wisdom." Callahan nodded at her. He looked different here, more comfortable, like he'd found his purpose again after years of retirement. Staff Sergeant Garrett Kessler. Heavy weapons. Breaching. You've met. Kessler raised the coffee mug in salute. Good to see you again, Sarah. Ready to learn. Always. Hendricks continued around the table. Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Thorne. 48, sniper, 26 years Marine Corps. Confirmed kills in 3 countries he's not allowed to talk about. Thorne was lean, weathered, eyes like a hawk. He nodded once, evaluated her reserved judgment. Captain Rebecca Sterling, 36, Army Special Forces, Intelligence, speaks 6 languages, master's degree in Middle Eastern Studies. Sterling was striking, 5'7", athletic build, dark hair in a practical bun, sharp eyes that missed nothing. She smiled, warm, genuine. Nice to finally have another woman on the team. It's been a testosterone festival. Technical Sergeant James Wheeler, 32, Air Force Pararescue, combat medic. If you get shot, he's the one who keeps you alive long enough to regret it. Wheeler was compact, 5'9", muscular, calm eyes, the kind of calm that came from seeing people at their worst and keeping them alive anyway. Ma'am, Sergeant First Class Devon Hayes, 43, Army Rangers, Demolitions, Communications, Tech Specialist. If it has wires or code, Devon makes it work or makes it explode. Hayes was black, bald, built like a tank. He had a laptop open in front of him and didn't look up from the screen. Hey, Chief Petty Officer Lucas Brennan, 29, Navy EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal. No relation to you despite the name. He's Irish, you're Scottish. Lucas was red-haired, freckled, grinning. Though we could tell people we're cousins, confuse the enemy. Staff Sergeant Dominic Cross, 37, Marine Force Recon, Entry Specialist, Close Quarters Combat, Hand to Hand. Cross was 6 feet even, solid, scarred knuckles. He looked at Sarah with professional interest. Heard about your fights, looking forward to training with you. Master Sergeant Vincent Carver, 52, Army Special Forces, 30 years in, languages, cultural expertise. He's forgotten more about counterinsurgency than most people will ever know. Carver was graying, distinguished, thoughtful eyes. Welcome, Sarah. Your father's reputation preceded him into every op he ran. It's an honor to serve with his daughter. And finally, Warrant Officer Grace Holland, 31, Army Military Intelligence, Cyber Warfare, Interrogation. She can get information from people who think they'll never talk. Holland was average height, average build, utterly forgettable features. Which was probably the point. She smiled like she knew secrets. We're going to get along great. Hendricks sat at the head of the table, gestured for Sarah to take an empty seat. This is Valkyrie. 12 operators, ages 29 to 66. Every branch represented, every skill set we need. We take missions other units can't handle. Black operations, deniable. If we're captured, the US government will disavow us. If we die, there are no medals, no funerals at Arlington, just a file that gets sealed for 50 years. He let that sink in. This is your chance to back out, walk away, go back to supply work at Camp Lejeune. No one will judge you, but if you stay, you're all in. You deploy when we deploy. You fight when we fight. You risk your life for objectives you might never fully understand. So I'll ask you once, are you in or out? Sarah looked around the table, at faces that had seen combat, had killed, had watched friends die, had served something bigger than themselves. She thought about her father, about 27 years training in secret, about 10 fights that proved she was more than anyone believed. I'm in, sir. Good. Hendricks opened a folder, slid it across to her. Then, let's talk about why you're really here. Sarah opened the folder. Inside were photographs, documents, classified stamps on every page. The first photograph showed a man, 63 years old, cold eyes, Slavic features. Dmitry Volkov, Hendricks said, former KGB, current arms dealer, High-value target. He's been on our list for 5 years. Sells weapons to terrorists, extremists, anyone with money and bad intentions. Sarah studied the photo. Something about the name triggered a memory. Something from her mother's stories about her father. 3 weeks ago, Hendricks continued. We received intelligence that Volkov has documents. Cold War era. Soviet intelligence files on US operations from 1985 to 1995, including Desert Storm SEAL missions. Sarah's head snapped up. My father's missions. Yes. And more importantly, these documents allegedly contain information about American sources. People who sold intelligence to the Soviets and later to the Iraqis. Moles, traitors. The room was silent. Everyone watching Sarah, watching her process. One of those operations, Hendricks said quietly, was the ambush that killed your father and 5 other SEALs on February 27, 1991. The ambush wasn't bad luck, Sarah. It was betrayal. Someone on our side sold them out. Sarah's hands clenched into fists. Her father hadn't died in combat. He'd been murdered by one of his own. We believe the code name of that source is in Volkov's files. Bishop. We don't know who Bishop is. We don't know if they're still active, but we need those files. Where is Volkov now? Sarah's voice was ice. Eastern Europe, former Yugoslavia, Bosnia-Herzegovina specifically. He's hiding in an abandoned Soviet weapons depot near Sarajevo. Remote location. Minimal civilian presence. He thinks he's safe. When do we deploy? Hendricks smiled, grim, eager, good, but not yet. You've proven you can fight. Now you need to prove you can operate. 6 weeks training. Then we'll talk about deployment. 6 weeks felt like an eternity, but Sarah nodded. Yes, sir. Dismissed. Callahan will show you to quarters. Training starts at 0500 tomorrow. Get some sleep. You'll need it. Sarah stood, followed Callahan out of the briefing room. In the hallway, Callahan spoke quietly. Your father would want justice, not revenge. Remember that. Justice for him means finding Bishop. That's what I want. Good, because revenge makes you sloppy. Justice makes you sharp. He showed her to a small room. Bunk, locker, desk, window overlooking the forest. Spartan. Perfect. Get some rest, Callahan said. Tomorrow we find out if you're really ready. He left. Sarah unpacked, set her father's photograph on the desk. His dog tags hung from the lamp. His training journals stacked neatly on the shelf. She sat on the bunk, looked at his photo. I'm going to find who killed you, Dad. I promise. And I'm going to make sure they face justice. The photograph didn't answer. But Sarah felt his presence, his approval, his pride. Tomorrow would begin the hardest 6 weeks of her life. She was ready. The training was brutal beyond anything Sarah had imagined. Day 1 started at 0500 with a 10-mile run through the mountains. Full gear, 40-pound pack. Hendricks set the pace. A pace that would have broken Olympic marathoners. Sarah kept up. Barely. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed. But she kept up. Day 2 was weapons qualifications. M4 carbine. Sig Sauer P226. MP7 submachine gun, Remington 700 rifle, at ranges from 25 to 300 meters. Sarah had never fired a gun before. Her father had trained her in hand-to-hand, not marksmanship. Thorne the sniper became her instructor. Patient, methodical. He taught her breathing, sight picture, trigger control. By the end of day 2, she was hitting targets at 100 meters consistently. Natural talent, Thorne said. Your father would be proud. Day 3 through 7 were close quarters combat, room clearing, building assault, hostage rescue scenarios. Sarah's hand-to-hand skills translated well. But gunfighting was different. Angles, cover, teamwork. She made mistakes, cost her team points in training scenarios. Dominic Cross pulled her aside after one particularly bad run. You're thinking like an individual fighter. We operate as a unit. Trust your teammates. Don't try to do everything yourself. Sarah absorbed the lesson, adjusted, By day 7, she was moving through rooms like she'd been born to it. Day 8 through 14 were land navigation, survival skills, escape and evasion. They dropped her in the mountains with a compass, a knife and a canteen. Told her to be back in 72 hours. She made it in 65. Day 15 through 21 were intelligence work, document analysis, interrogation techniques, how to recognize lies, how to extract information without torture. Grace Holland taught those classes. She was brilliant, terrifying, effective. Everyone has a pressure point, Holland said. Find it, apply pressure, get what you need. Day 22 through 28 were medical training, combat first aid, trauma care, how to keep someone alive with minimal equipment. Wheeler taught her how to pack a gunshot wound, how to apply a tourniquet, how to recognize shock, how to make impossible decisions about who lived and who died when resources were limited. In the field, Wheeler said, "I'm God. I decide who gets treatment first. It's the worst responsibility you'll ever have, and you'll have to live with every choice." Day 29 through 35 were demolitions, explosives, breaching charges, how to blow doors, how to collapse buildings, how to make things explode in controlled, useful ways. Hayes taught those classes with the enthusiasm of a child on Christmas morning. He loved explosives, loved the precision, the science, the art. Explosives are like surgery, he said. Use enough, you achieve the objective. Use too much, you kill everyone, including yourself. Use too little, you accomplish nothing. It's about precision. Day 36 through 42 were final integration, full mission rehearsals. The team ran scenarios that combined every skill: assault, ambush, exfiltration, hostage rescue, intelligence gathering. Sarah performed well, not perfectly. She made mistakes, cost the team time, cost simulated lives. But she learned fast. By day 42, she was thinking like an operator, moving like an operator, fighting like an operator. On day 43, Hendricks called the team together. "We're operational," he said. "Mission brief in 1 hour. This is real." Volkov, Bosnia. "We deploy tomorrow at Guru 600. Questions?" No one spoke. "Good. Dismissed." Sarah walked to her quarters. Her hands were shaking. Not from fear, from anticipation. This was what she trained for, what her father had trained her for. Tomorrow she would become operational. Tomorrow she would hunt the man who had her father's secrets. The mission brief was detailed, precise, professional. Hendricks stood at the front of the briefing room. Behind him, a digital screen showed satellite imagery of a compound in rural Bosnia-Herzegovina. Target: Dmitry Volkov. Location: former Soviet weapons depot 15 kilometers southeast of Sarajevo. Structure is concrete, single story, reinforced. 4 rooms, minimal windows, 1 main entrance, 1 emergency exit. The image zoomed in, showed the building from multiple angles. Intelligence suggests 15 to 20 hostiles. Mix of Russian ex-military and local hired security, armed with AK pattern rifles, pistols, possible RPGs. They're competent but not elite. Hendricks clicked to the next slide. Building schematics. The files we need are in Volkov's office. Central room. He keeps them in a safe. Old Soviet model. Hayes can crack it, but needs 3 minutes uninterrupted. Our objective: infiltrate. Secure files. Exfiltrate. Avoid casualties if possible, but weapons free if necessary. Another click. Timeline. Infiltration at 0200 local time. Low visibility. New moon. We approach on foot from the north. 2 clicks through forest. Split into 3 teams. Alpha team Kessler cross Sterling Brennan. Your entry and security. Bravo team Thorn Carver Holland. Your overwatch and perimeter. Charlie team Hayes Wheeler, Lucas Callahan. Your tech, medical and backup. I'll coordinate from command position. Sarah listened, absorbed. Her role was clear. Entry team. Her job was to help clear the building and secure Volkov's office while Hayes worked on the safe. Rules of engagement. Avoid casualties when possible. But if you're compromised, if your team is threatened, you are authorized to use lethal force. This is not a capture mission. This is intelligence recovery. The files are the priority. Everything else is secondary. Hendricks looked at each team member. This is everyone's first operational mission together. We've trained hard. Now we execute. Watch each other's backs. Trust your training. Complete the mission. Questions. Sir, Sarah spoke up. What happens if we encounter Volkov personally? He is not a primary target, but if he interferes with the mission, treat him as hostile. Hendricks paused. Sarah, I know you have personal motivation here, your father, but emotions compromise judgment. Can you keep it professional? Sarah made his eyes. Yes, sir. The mission comes first. Good. Anyone else? Silence. Then we deploy at 0600. Gear up. Get some rest. Dismissed. The team dispersed. Sarah walked to the armory. Selected her weapons. M4 carbine with holographic sight and weapon light. 6-hour P226 as sidearm. 3 spare magazines for each. Flash grenades. Smoke grenades. Radio. Night vision goggles. Body armor. Helmet. She loaded magazines methodically. 30 rounds per M4 magazine. 15 per pistol magazine. Each round was a potential life saved or taken. The weight of that sat heavy in her chest. Callahan appeared beside her, also loading magazines. Nervous? He asked. Terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Overconfidence kills. My father said the same thing. Sarah loaded another round. Click. Callahan, tell me something. When my father died, was it quick? Callahan stopped loading, looked at her. His eyes were haunted. He was hit by an RPG, shrapnel to the abdomen and chest. We tried to get to him, tried to extract, but the Iraqis had us pinned. By the time we reached him, he'd lost too much blood. Callahan's voice cracked. He was conscious almost to the end. He talked about you, said your name, said he was sorry he wouldn't see you grow up. Then he just stopped. Tears slid down Sarah's cheeks. She didn't wipe them away. I should have saved him, Callahan said. I was right there, and I couldn't save him. It wasn't your fault. Feels like it was. Sarah set down the magazine she was loading, turned to Callahan, put her hand on his shoulder. You've spent 27 years trying to save him by protecting me, by training me, by making sure I was ready for this life. You kept your promise. He knows that. Wherever he is, he knows. Callahan's eyes were wet. He nodded, couldn't speak. They loaded the rest of their magazines in silence. The C-130 transport plane flew through the night. Sarah sat with the rest of Valkyrie in the cargo bay. The engines roared. The fuselage vibrated. No one spoke. Each operator lost in their own thoughts, their own preparations. Sarah checked her equipment for the 20th time. M4 secure. Pistol secure. Grenades secure. Radio functioning. Night vision operational. Everything ready. Her father's dog tags hung under her body armor. Against her skin, she could feel them with each breath. A reminder, a promise. I'm coming, Dad. I'm going to find who betrayed you. The loadmaster gave a 10-minute warning. The team stood, checked each other's gear, partner checks, making sure nothing was loose, nothing forgotten. Kessler checked Sarah's gear, tugged straps, tested buckles, nodded approval. Sarah checked his. 235 pounds of Marine in full combat load. He looked like a walking tank. Ready? He asked. Ready. 5 minutes. The ramp began to lower. Cold air rushed in. Below darkness. Bosnia-Herzegovina. Enemy territory. 2 minutes. The plane descended. Treetops rushed past. The pilot was good. Flying low. Under radar coverage. 1 minute. Green light. Go, go, go. The team fast roped from the hovering aircraft, one after another, smooth, practiced. Sarah's turn. She grabbed the rope, slid down, 40 feet, landed in soft earth, immediately moved to a security position, weapon up, scanning for threats. The C-130 pulled away. The sound faded. Silence settled over the forest. 12 operators, alone in hostile territory. 2 kilometers from target. Hendrix's voice in Sarah's earpiece. All teams check in. Alpha team good. Bravo team good. Charlie team good. Move to objective. Stay sharp. Command out. They moved through the forest, silent, disciplined. Night vision turned the world green and gray. Every shadow was a potential threat, every sound analyzed. Sarah's heart hammered. Her breathing was too loud in her own ears. She forced herself to slow down, to focus. One click down, one to go. They reached the perimeter fence at 0145, 15 minutes ahead of schedule. The depot compound was exactly as the satellite images showed. Single building, concrete, lights on inside, 2 guards visible, patrolling, bored. Bravo team took over watch positions. Thorne set up his sniper rifle. 300 meters out, perfect angle on the main entrance. Alpha team moved to the north wall. Kessler placed a shaped charge on the concrete, whispered into his radio. Charges set, ready to breach. Charlie team moved to the emergency exit, ready to secure the back door once Alpha entered. 0200 approached. Hendrix's voice. All teams stand by. Execute on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. Kessler detonated the charge. The explosion was shockingly loud. Concrete shattered. A hole appeared in the wall, large enough for a person. Alpha team poured through. Sarah followed Cross and Kessler. Sterling brought up rear security. Inside was chaos, alarms blaring, men shouting in Russian, gunfire. Sarah moved on instinct. Room 1, clear. Room 2, 2 hostiles. Kessler engaged. Double tap. Both down. Sarah didn't hesitate. Moved to room 3. The office. Central room. The door was reinforced. Locked. Cross placed a breaching charge. Stepped back. Detonated. The door blew inward. Sarah entered. Weapon up. Scanning. A man sat behind a desk. 63 years old. Grey hair. Cold eyes. Dmitry Volkov. He was holding a pistol, aimed at Sarah. Time stopped. Sarah's training screamed at her. Threat, weapon, engage. Her finger was on the trigger. 2 pounds of pressure. The shot would be center mass, fatal. But something stopped her. She thought of her father, of justice versus revenge, of what kind of person she wanted to be. Drop it, Sarah said. Voice steady, weapon steady. Volkov smiled. Cold. You're American, military. Drop the weapon. You're here for the files, the secrets. Volkov's English was accented but clear. You want to know who betrayed your people. Last warning, drop it, or what you'll shoot. You're hesitating, I can see it. You're not a killer, not yet. Sarah's mind raced. Hayes needed 3 minutes on the safe. Volkov was a threat, but an unarmed threat was different than an armed one. Kessler, Sarah said into her radio, not taking her eyes off Volkov. Office. Need backup. Kessler appeared in the doorway, took in the situation, moved to flank. Volkov saw him, saw 2 weapons aimed at him, calculated odds. He set his pistol on the desk, slowly, carefully. Smart, Kessler said. He moved forward, grabbed Volkov, zip-tied his hands, pushed him to the floor. Hayes rushed in, saw the safe, began working. His fingers flew, tools appeared from pouches. He worked like a surgeon. Sarah kept her weapon trained on the room, watching angles, watching doors. 2 minutes passed. Explosions outside, gunfire intensifying. Bravo team engaging hostiles. Hendrix's voice. Alpha team status. In the office, Hayes working the safe. 2 minutes. Perimeter is compromised. Multiple hostiles converging. Expedite. Hayes cursed. Can't go faster. This lock is old but complex. Kessler moved to the door. We hold here. Whatever comes through that door, we stop it. Sarah positioned herself opposite Kessler, covering the other angle. Footsteps. Running. Shouting in Russian. 3 men appeared in the hallway. Armed. AK-47s. Kessler fired. Controlled bursts. 2 went down. The third threw a grenade. Grenade! Kessler shouted. Sarah saw it land. 3 feet away. Had 2 seconds. Her body moved without thought. She kicked it, hard, back into the hallway. The explosion was deafening. Shrapnel tore through the door frame. Smoke filled the office. Sarah's ears rang, but she was alive. They were all alive. I got it, Hayes shouted. The safe door swung open. He grabbed files, folders, shoved them into his pack. Jackpot, we're done. Exfil now, Hendricks ordered. The team moved. Kessler grabbed Volkov, hauled him to his feet. They exited through the breach point into the chaos of the compound. Smoke, fire, bodies. Bravo team provided covering fire. Thorne's rifle barked, precise, methodical. Each shot found its target. Charlie team secured the exfil route. They moved as one unit. 12 operators plus 1 prisoner. They ran through the forest. 2 clicks felt like 20. Behind them, the depot burned. Ammunition cooked off. Secondary explosions lit the night sky. They reached the extraction point. An MH-60 helicopter appeared from the darkness. Landed. Rotors still spinning. The team loaded. Volkov was thrown aboard. Sarah was last in. The helicopter lifted, banked, accelerated away. Sarah looked back at the burning depot. Her first mission, her first combat. She'd hesitated, almost cost them, but they'd succeeded. The files were secured. Volkov was captured. Everyone came home alive. In her pocket, her father's dog tags pressed against her leg. A reminder of why she was here. The mission was complete, but the real work was just beginning. Back at the facility, Hayes spread the files across a table. Dozens of documents, decades of secrets. Hendricks and the team gathered around. Everyone exhausted but focused. Hayes pulled out one specific file, marked with Cyrillic letters. This is it, he said quietly. Desert Storm SEAL Operations, February 1991. He opened it. Inside were photographs, mission reports, and names. Sarah's hands trembled as she read. Her father's name, Patrick Brennan, listed among 6 SEALs killed in action. February 27th, 1991. Cause ambush. Intelligence leaked to Iraqi forces. Source code name Bishop. And underneath, a name. Sarah's blood turned to ice. The name wasn't military, wasn't government. It was a civilian contractor, a defense industry executive who'd had access to operational details. Someone who was still alive, still wealthy, still respected. Someone who'd profited from selling American lives to enemies. Sarah looked up at Hendricks. Her eyes were hard, determined. We need to find this person. We need to make them answer for what they did. Hendricks nodded slowly. Not tonight. Tonight we rest. But you're right. Justice demands answers. And we're going to get them. Sarah walked to her quarters, sat on her bunk, held her father's photograph. Her phone buzzed. Text message. Kessler. Heard you went operational. Knew you would. We're training your curriculum here at Lejeune. Teaching 150 Marines what you taught us. You changed this place, Sarah. Changed us. Semper Fi. Another text. Sullivan. Ma'am, my grandfather passed last week. Peaceful. His last words were about your father. Said to tell you mission complete. He's proud. We all are. Sarah's eyes stung. She typed back. Sarah, Tell your grandfather I said thank you. And Wyatt, keep training. Keep getting better. The Corps needs people like you. Sullivan. Trying to be like you, ma'am. Sarah. Don't be like me. Be better than me. That's what my father would want. She set the phone down, looked at her father's photograph. I found who killed you, Dad, she whispered, and I'm going to make sure they face justice. I promise. Outside her window, dawn was breaking, the first light touching the Virginia mountains. Sarah Catherine Brennan had completed her first mission. She was no longer the invisible supply clerk, no longer the underestimated woman no one noticed. She was an operator, a warrior, her father's daughter. And she was just getting started. The real mission was ahead, the mission to bring Bishop to justice, to honor her father's sacrifice, to prove that betrayal had consequences even after 30 years. But that was a mission for another day. Today she rested. She'd earned it. 6 months later. The man who called himself Bishop sat in his corner office on the 42nd floor of a glass tower in Manhattan. 71 years old, distinguished, respected. His defense contracting company had made him a billionaire. Built on secrets, built on blood. He was reviewing quarterly reports when his secretary buzzed. Sir, there's a woman here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's about Desert Storm. She says her name is Sarah Brennan. The name hit him like a bullet. Patrick Brennan's daughter. He'd read the reports, knew she'd joined some classified unit, knew she'd found the files, knew this day would come eventually. Send her in, he said. His hand moved to the desk drawer, the pistol he kept there. Just in case. The door opened. Sarah Brennan walked in, small, quiet, unremarkable. Behind her 2 federal agents, FBI, stern faces, badges visible. Mr. Harrison, Sarah said. Her voice was calm, cold. Or should I say Bishop? Martin Harrison stood, decades of practice keeping his expression neutral. I don't know what you're talking about. February 27, 1991. You sold SEAL team operational details to Iraqi intelligence. 6 men died. One of them was my father. That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof? Sarah placed a folder on his desk. Soviet intelligence files. His code name. His payments. Bank transfers. Everything. We have proof. The FBI has been investigating for 6 months. Today they are arresting you for espionage conspiracy to commit murder and treason. Harrison's hand moved toward the drawer. Don't, one of the FBI agents said, hand on his weapon. Harrison stopped, calculated, knew it was over. Why? Sarah asked. Why did you do it? What was worth 6 American lives? Harrison smiled, tired, empty. Money. It's always money. The Soviets paid me $3 million for those operational details. The Iraqis bought the same information for $2 million more. I was young, ambitious, stupid. I thought I was just selling locations. I didn't know they'd use it for an ambush. You knew, Sarah said, ice in her voice. And you didn't care. I didn't know your father. Didn't know any of them. They were just names on a page, assets on a spreadsheet. He looked at her, really looked at her. But you know him, don't you? Even though he died when you were 3, you carry him with you. Every day, Sarah said. I'm sorry, Harrison said. And for the first time in 30 years, he meant it. If I could undo it, I would. But I can't. So do what you came here to do. The FBI agents moved forward. Handcuffs, Miranda rights. Sarah watched, felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief. Just emptiness. Justice wasn't healing. It was just closure. As they led Harrison away, he looked back at her. Your father, Patrick, what was he like? Sarah thought about the VHS tapes, the training journals, the photograph he died holding. He was brave, she said quietly. He was strong, and he would have wanted me to give you a chance to confess, to face justice instead of vengeance. So that's what I did. Harrison nodded. He raised a good daughter, even from beyond the grave. They took him away. Sarah stood alone in the office, looked out at Manhattan, at the city her father had died protecting. She pulled out her phone, called Callahan. "It's done," she said. "Bishop is in custody. The FBI has everything." "How do you feel?" Callahan asked. "Empty, but peaceful, like I can finally let him rest." "Patrick would be proud of you, Sarah, not for catching Bishop, but for doing it the right way. Justice, not revenge." Sarah smiled, small, genuine. "Yeah, I think he would be." She left the building, stepped into New York sunlight. Her father's dog tags hung under her shirt. Against her heart, the war was over. The mission was complete. Patrick Brennan could finally rest, and Sarah Catherine Brennan could finally live, not as her father's shadow, not as the underestimated girl no one noticed, but as herself. An operator, a warrior, a woman who'd proven that strength had nothing to do with size and everything to do with heart. She walked toward the subway, toward the facility, toward her team, toward whatever mission came next, because she was Valkyrie now, and Valkyrie never quit.